Welcome back to Simple Truth. We're pointing out some truths from the book of 1 Samuel. We're finishing, finally, the last couple sentences, the last couple verses in 1 Samuel chapter 21. It says this, right? In verse 14, Then Achish said to his servants, Behold, you see the man is mad. Why then have you brought him to me? Do I lack madmen that you have brought this fellow to behave as a madman in my presence? Shall this fellow come into my house? Right? So again, the enemy, right, of David, the enemy of God, right, is saying, listen, David's a madman, right? Is David preserving his life in this moment? Absolutely. Is David, right, preserving, right, the idea of this king of God? No. Right? There's no power, authority with David. He's not acting like somebody who's been anointed. He's acting like somebody who has been, right, who's been kicked out of his country, who's being chased after another king. He is acting like someone who doesn't have that God. I mean, again, I think sometimes you and I, we get caught up in this preserving our life thing. Our only thought process is about preserving our life, preserving what we have, preserving and keeping what we have. I got to think about me and surviving for another day. That's not at all where God is. That's not at all what God is thinking about. God doesn't want you to preserve your life. That's what He's about. Right? Now, again, you can go off the extreme and you can tell me, like, we got to watch what we eat and all those things. Yeah, of course. Right? You got to do your part in being obedient and doing what God's asked you to do. But you're not going to preserve your life. You understand that. Right? If it's your time to go, you're going to go. Right? If it's your time to experience something that God has for you, it's going to happen. So, again, we look at this and we say, well, what is David preserving? He's preserving his life as if God cannot do it, right? So what should have happened? What could have happened? Well, this is revisionist history where I get to look at it and say, David should have trusted in his God. What was he doing at the enemies anyway? Should have never ran away from Saul, right? Should have ran to people, his own people. He should have ran to God. He should have ran and done a whole bunch of things. But instead he runs to the enemy. And in an attempt to preserve his life. Have you ever done that at your job where you have actually ran to the enemy to preserve your job? Have you ever ran to the medicine cupboard to preserve yourself? Have you ever ran to your friends to preserve yourself? Have you ever ran to your family to preserve yourself? Have you ever just ran away to preserve yourself? We do these kind of things all the time. God's not interested in you preserving you. It's God's job to preserve you, right? We run to God and let Him take care of all the rest of the things. We run away with purpose. Right? Then God shows up and He gets the glory and He gets the credits. So short, sweet, we'll be in chapter 22 next time, hopefully. But until then, think about that. Is your goal every day just to preserve yourself, your family? Or is it God's job to preserve you and you're just being obedient every day? Think about that. We'll see you next time right here. Simple Truth.